back to the Zero Signal podcast. So Ashish, you are the founder of TechRiot.io.
Yep.
You've been the Cloud Security Podcast and the AI Security Podcast. You are a voice of sanity when it comes to like navigating both the cloud security and AI security space. So mate, thank you so much for joining us today. You have been saying recently that what's happening with AI right now in most enterprises is that we have basically unleashed junior employees with root access across the enterprise. Can you give us a little context around that and frame us, like, what is this moment that security leaders are finding themselves in at this right now?
Awesome. First of all, thank you for having me. Great to be here. I was going to start off by saying that the reason TechRiot.io focuses on advising CISOs and CTOs about how to deal with AI, and especially the cybersecurity side as well. A lot of conversations I had across enterprises, what I found was, even though we all want to have a quote-unquote safe AI usage, and security is trying to keep up with what it would mean to have safe AI, development as well as other people trying to keep up with the frontier models who have been releasing almost every month, you find that a lot of developers have gone on the path of having their own AI capability built in. They're all trying to figure out a way of, I think I was talking to someone about this earlier, that ChatGPT now has like a login free version. You don't need to log in. Just go to the website and you can upload files into it. So like the context of what used to be a threat is gone. At least the traditional context of threat is gone. We're in this new world where we're trying to figure out what is this new threat landscape like while I still manage whatever I need to manage from a security perspective without being too overtly exposed from a risk perspective. What that has led down the path of is we are trying to, as CISOs and security leaders, we're trying to quote unquote manage what is security in this world of AI. Unfortunately, with a lot of conversations that I've had, companies spending millions of dollars and pounds on this particular thing. They're not expecting their developers and product managers to wait for a security person to come back with a review of this really unique frontier model or LLM model that came in yesterday or 8 hours ago, and they want to start using it because it could potentially solve the problem. So what we're finding is a lot more people are using their own AI agents or using their own AI prototypes, as I like to call them. Then it's your third party who have AI agents as well, who have been using it. They're obviously selling it to your colleagues. Your HR is being sold AI, or legal is being sold AI. Right. All different departments are being sold AI. So it's not just that, hey, AI is a problem for inside. It's also a problem from a workforce perspective. People who could not code before now are coding. And they're coding. Most developers, I'm pretty sure, have admin access to the laptops because they want to be able to run a local server and all of that. So they already have MCP servers running on their machines. A lot of these conversations, I find it funny that a year ago, this used to be the hypothetical. These days, it's actually very much true, where all those things that we kind of have done so far, where we said it's okay for a developer to have admin access on their laptop, as long as it's a company laptop, is suddenly not an okay conversation. It's not okay for me to bring my own device because now I can have ChatGPT on it and I don't have to have a paid, because a lot of boundaries were around, hey, people would not go for a paid version. Why would people spend money, blah, blah, but now it's a free version. Yeah. Works exactly the same way without logging in. And I already bring my own device. How different is, and by the way, I don't have to actually type up my answer. I can take a picture of it and they can read it, understand it. So it's like, that used to be a threat that we never used to plan for. So that's where it feels like most people are, if they haven't realized it, they have employees who are potentially running AI agents as junior employees with root access because they are using that employee's credential. Right. Whatever credential that person has is the credential that the AI agent has as well. If I have admin access and I'm that developer, that's where it's going.
That brings up a really good point. I think there's a lot of the really interesting risk landscape that's like shown up and kind of exploded on the scene here. Yeah. But one of the fundamentals that we've always struggled with is going to be around authorization. We got halfway decent at authentication and we really struggle at authorization. So just basic over permissioning was a kind of a problem that we would have probably have a long time, but there wasn't, from a security perspective, it wasn't being realized into a business risk. But now, as you mentioned, people can take these LLMs or running locally. They're hooking it up to agentic models. Maybe they're putting in some MCP service and now it's taking action. And like you said, if you have a employee who's overprivileged in that Google Drive or that Office 365, they hook up their agent. Now it's running with their credentials. So that over-permissioning thing just exploded on the scene as a real material technical risk.
Yeah, and I also find that the reason I keep going back to the threat landscape we all planned for, we had the roadmap for, that doesn't exist anymore.
Throw it out the window.
Yeah, basically. It's like you can't plan for, I have a 3-year roadmap, but I only have 6 months before it changes.
Yeah.
If that.
Right.
Yeah, so I think very, very true. Yeah.
We have ambitions.
We talk about why we started this podcast, and I think the reason is like, how do people plan for this? And you advise CISOs, and I think there is a balance right now that CISOs have where it's like, cool, we need innovation, but we also got to keep this train on the track. Like, what are you saying to CISOs in terms of like balancing that innovation piece, but we got to we got to color between the lines as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great question also because I find that today planning for 3 months or 3 years does not make sense. It perhaps makes sense for things that have not been disrupted by AI as much, which is your traditional GMC that you have done for a long time, compliance pieces, PCI, whatever you want to take that. That hasn't evolved to AI, but it would soon. So as of now, there are definitely standard things people are looking at from a roadmap perspective. That doesn't change. What does change is how much of AI is infused in the applications you were working with, potentially crown jewels you were working with. What that brings up, what that raises as a question is that, okay, A, I have the option of just letting go of it and see where it lands. Or B, I can try and work with them how can I fit into this world that's coming up? It's not that I think the unfortunate truth is security is not going to lead this. As much as I'm a cybersecurity person, we're going to sit there and go, yeah, cybersecurity is going to lead it. We never got the seat on the table to begin with. So I guess we're still a step behind in some context. But at least what I would say is, if you're trying to plan for a roadmap, most people who have a contract coming in for renewal from a vendor perspective, they're reviewing from that lens where, hey, is this a partner that I would be happy to be with in 6 months, 1 year? Frontier models are working faster than ever. There are open source models coming up as well. Am I partnering with someone who is going to keep me updated? If not, something new comes up, say 8 hours ago, something came up and my developer wants to use it, is there an AppSec provider who's going to be there with me when that model comes out at the same speed as that's coming out? Those are the real questions people are asking. So people are going to ask for their vendors to have shorter contract periods. And if they have a long-term period, how are you going to guarantee that, hey, this is something that I can really deliver? Number one thing that people find is that transparency is something that's not being spoken about. And that's where the roadmaps are failing as well. Because you build a roadmap based on a transform, like a framework, whether the NIST framework or whatever. There is an understanding that, hey, you show it to everyone, hey, this is what we're going towards. We're level 5. We're level 3 right now out of 5. We want to get to 3.5 or 4 or whatever. Yeah. There is no such thing for AI. We don't know what that is level for AI. Right. We just knew that I can ask it questions. Now I can integrate my apps with it. I think it's gone to a point where having a long-term roadmap is a lot more harder. But there are things they can do. Like there are things like having a standard of these are the LLM 1, 2, or 3 that we trust, whether it's because they have an enterprise license and they're not open source, or whether it's the fact that my cloud provider now allows for me to be that foundation for building my applications for AI. Whatever that risk posture that's comfortable for your organization, there are ways to standardize it. There are also ways to standardize the MCP server we spoke about, providing them a sandbox environment where, hey, do all your experiments over here. Let's make sure that data is separate. Security education is important again. Fine enough, email security. I think I was joking about this on an interview that I did. It's been a while since I got a Nigerian Prince email. It's been a lot more about very more focused, personalized email for which schools that I go to, or university was like, hey, I heard you on this podcast, Zero Single podcast, amazing. And you almost like, we're living in a world where it's harder and harder for even like clued on people like us who are in cybersecurity to figure out when it's a phishing campaign versus a genuine person.
They're so good.
I mean, I always joke that if there was genuinely an Nigerian prince who wanted to give me money, I would not even trust him anymore. I'm like, no, is this for sure? So I definitely find that a roadmap today is a lot more fluid for an application.
Pencil, not pen, right?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, you want to be able to kind of quickly change it. Yeah. It's truly dynamic in its nature.
Yes.
And it's not the dynamic where I make it right now and I can actually follow a path for a 6-month period, 1 year period without much change. It is going to change. I don't think we have reached that point of stability or status quo yet for AI. So I think people have their work cut out.
Do you think the median CISO is ready for that level of fluidity, given we historically are just stable?
Yeah, I think I actually don't know. Like at least most of the conversation that I'm having is, it's funny. I think most people still, even though I feel they know a lot, every time I would ask them for, hey, how much AI are you comfortable with? They all say, I'm still learning. There is not a single person who would tell me that I think I know this inside out. Because none of us know it inside out. So
we're all making it.
Yeah, we're all making it up as we're going. And we're also figuring out that the CISO's role is going to evolve. And I think we joked about the whole chief. What was
AI
it?
security officer,
Yeah.
CISO, I call it.
I mean, once you have the budget for
CISO,
it.
I think it'd be interesting.
I think it is a possibility. Maybe not today, but I think there's definitely a possibility because the CDO or the chief data officer was the responsibility for AI.
Yeah.
So I would say in the future it would make sense, but at least the way it's going today is a lot of organizations are forming internal committees and cohorts and whatever to kind of go, hey, okay, I just can't make this decision myself. And obviously we talk about this where CISO should not be the person making the decision on what AI to go for or not. That's an axe waiting for you to chop your head off, for lack of a better word. So I definitely would find that the balance over here is going to be more around collaboration with other teams. What are they doing and continuing to do what we did, which is working with the stakeholders across the different business units to understand, hey, where do I fit into your world? Wherever you're going with this, what can I do? What makes me uncomfortable? Can I be openly sharing this? Can I teach the executives for the value of this in a way that they understand without just stating 5 facts and hoping that hits? Like, the world has definitely changed.
And it's crazy because there's a lot of people that probably didn't really use technology within their organizations that are all in on this thing. Like, I'm going to tell you a story. Last night, I was at a bar, the Cosmopolitan. 60-odd-year-old guy. He sold cheese for a living. No joke. I was like, what do you do for a living? Sold cheese. And he's talking to me about ChatGPT. He's the VP of sales for like a multi-billion-dollar company.
Oh, wow.
And he's given the keys to the kingdom. He doesn't really use technology before. And he's like, we gave all of our corporate information because these people that see it as magic, they are wholly trusting to this thing. And it's so fascinating because it's the first time, like HR teams, some legal teams, it's the first time they're using technology for a while. And it's crazy how much trust they have in this thing. And I think like it is a fascinating watch that we have just like kind of gone, cool, you seem more Claude, whatever it may be. Here's all of our corporate information.
Yeah.
It is insane.
Yeah, and I think, funny enough, when we were going to the airport in London, there was an ad that Shilpi saw for farmers using AI. I'm like, farmers using AI? There's an advertising for it, like, hey, this is how you can use AI for farming. I'm like, is it robotics? Like, where are we going with it? But then it's so clear. Everyone wants to sell to your point, dream.
Yes.
That, hey, this is what AI can do. And I've kind of leaned on the fact that I think I definitely find it is moving faster than cloud did. And I used the example of BlackBerry and iPhone where it is more like for people who were against iPhone for a long time, they said, oh, it's not going to change us.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that's not...
I love that analogy.
Yeah, but I think, and imagine what happened to BlackBerry. And funny enough, not that they're a
cybersecurity.
From mobile phones to being a cybersecurity company. I'm like, I feel like an old person when I say that now. Yeah, but they tried the touchscreen as well. They all failed because they're like way too late in the game.
They laughed at Apple. I don't know if you've seen the movie. They were like, these guys, like Tim Cook's coming out on TV or Steve Jobs back in the day. These guys suck, and it's crazy. I think that's an amazing parallel, and I think it's actually a really great segue. You're the guy in cloud security, right? You have the cloud security podcast. What are some of the parallels that you see in terms of this AI security frontier and some of the things that we've tackled from a cloud security perspective?
It's a good one. Because I definitely have been pondering on this for some time. I definitely find that the rate of adoption is definitely higher. Way higher. Like it took almost like, I feel like the cloud space took almost over a decade before it was normal.
Yeah.
Before people like us started looking at it as a normal thing. Whereas AI is almost like my mom knows what AI is. And I'm like, she's not even in tech. She's like this 70-year-old person. I'm like, how do you know about AI?
Sending you the perfect email.
Yeah. I'm like, what is going on? Like, she has a free chat. But it's like really interesting where we're in a world where everyone's involved in this. It's not just the people in enterprise. I think that's where people like, this is going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
And I think people described AI as the new internet.
Yes.
And I think I heard this somewhere. It's like, when internet was first developed, was actually not even that. Before that, electricity was developed first. People did not think people just thought bulbs, right? Hey, I can turn off a few bulbs and be great. Then you have built computers. Now you have internet. You move on to, I'm a global organization.
Yeah.
Like, we've done so much just with electricity. I mean, we're running the whole thing on electricity right now. It's becoming that foundational for AI to be part of every application, every industry out there. I was talking to someone from the oil and gas space as well. They're using, I'm like, oil and gas?
Every industry.
Yeah. So, and because in my mind, they're all IoT. They're like the actual truck going across and they're using AI. What can we do with AI? And to your point about cheese company as well. You almost think that this transformation, and in a lot of way, I feel grateful as well that we are part of this transformation so you can see it coming. So to come back to the parallels from cloud, rate of adoption is definitely more higher. The other finding that I'm also thinking about this is there was a digital transformation program that was going on in most organizations when DevOps came in. It's a similar program happening right now with AI transformation as well. What applications are ripe for converting into an AI embedded one versus the ones that are let's just use a third party LLM to make this better? Which ones are going to be canned completely because these are your traditional applications that did the same thing that AI just does it without anything. Imagine a $20 or $200 subscription. That's the same thing as a multi-million-dollar product. There's one guy who knows how to do PHP. Let's keep the guy employed because that's the case. That's the other parallel. The other thing I'm also finding is that as people are adopting, I don't think we've reached that stage yet. And I found this conversation with one of the guests really interesting. We were talking about super intelligence, which is where people are trying to get to go, hey, we're going to be AGI, all of that. And I think here is an interesting point. He said, and this guy, by the way, has 30 patents in this space, right? So I kind of put some weight on this thing. Yeah. Edward is the guy, and he basically said, Edward said that even if we get AGI, there is no way it can work for any organization. Because think of any organization, just say any bank that's been there for ages, hundreds of years. How many employees have they gone through who have so much knowledge that kind of travel through it? Every time any of us join an organization or work with an organization, you almost have to absorb the culture, absorb the tech debt, absorb so much that's basically was never done because it didn't make sense or was held off because, maybe let's come back to the next quarter and see what happens to it. And we never spoke about it after that. How many applications were decommissioned? There's so much in terms of just technically, so much context, which is either lost because those employees moved away and no one really documented it. And B, even if you were to get that today, there are so many parts that cannot be connected across different companies. Like mainframe is a typical example. I think I was part of a project that we did for a bank. I want to give some credit to the leader who was trying to transform mainframe and make it cloud friendly and all that, because AWS told him the idea that, hey, we can make this work in AWS, and we spent like 6 months or 1 year on it, millions of dollars, all went to the drain. But hey, the idea was sold and he wanted to do the transformation, but there are certain things that just would not be ready. Mainframe is still not on cloud.
It is amazing how many mainframes still. I was actually talking to a CISO yesterday, and they're like, "Yep, we still got this thing running in COBOL, and it like runs our back-end business." I'm like, "It's time to replatform."
My dad made a career out of being like the last dinosaur hanging on to like Tivoli storage management.
Oh, really?
They can't fire me. And they call me back every 6 months. They fire me. They bring me back because there are so many of these like COBOL, underlying technologies. I think there's a meme where there's a guy in Minnesota or whatever holding the whole internet together, and it's so crazy.
You mentioned earlier, Stu, about like how rapidly it's being adopted. Go back to our cheese, the guy selling cheese, right? And this trust that people have. It's like, because it speaks your native language, it feels very familiar. It feels like you're talking to something that you don't need. There's no barrier to entry to start adopting this.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of circle back on that word trust there. I mean, this is what I see as a moment. I want to get your perspective on this, because when I think about trust as a concept, I view it to be built on these pillars of like security, safety, and reliability. Mm-hmm. Security, free of an adversary. Safety, continues to operate as expected under normal circumstances. And reliability is there when you need it, even under adversarial circumstances, like business continuity and disaster recovery. So we'll move on to the responsibility of making sure the organization is bringing trust, like they're shipping trust to their customers, their partners, or their regulators. Is this the role that like the CISO changes again? Is it the CISO's one leg of the leadership team? Maybe it's what you're talking about others, where it's like that governance council. How do we navigate that such that people can trust what we're bringing to market and continue that?
I would say it's a two-way street. I'll call that out. I think because some businesses exist on the fact that customers are going to trust us with the data. Like bank is entirely on that thing that we're trusting with them with our money. We trust Amazon and Gmail and everything else with our information. So I definitely feel the concept of trust is built on transparency, where I know that, hey, to your point, I love the three-pillar example, and I probably the last one is, I guess, I would say resilience is the word you're looking for as well. It's more like I know that service would always be there. I know that they would be reliable enough that they would not shut down tomorrow. I mean, expecting Gmail not to exist tomorrow sounds like an insane idea.
Totally.
Yeah. So I definitely find that the concept of trust would not sit with the CISO, even though some people have changed the CISO role to a CTO role, Chief Trust Officer.
Sure.
I'm sure you have seen that as well, Stu.
Yep.
You definitely find that at least they were starting to do it. And I don't know if it's a responsibility of the CISO to do it. It's definitely security culture can be built. Yes, we talk about all that day. we can talk about security culture all day, but the reality is it's almost when the security person is not in the room, what do you do? It's the same thing as a personal brand. Yeah. It's also the fact that every organization is integrating AI into every individual department. Every organization has tech debt. Hundreds, thousands of tech debts just still lying there for years.
Yeah.
What if AI just decides, and just going into like Marvel Universe world, it decides, you know what, something has been there for over 5 years. Yeah, it's gonna snap a finger. You know what? Delete all of it. Because clearly you haven't worked out for 5 years. You don't need it anymore. You're still profitable, so you should be fine. Who takes accountability for that?
Yes.
Is it the Jira owner? Is it the AI owner?
Storage.
That's actually a good point. And I actually think that's going to be a real problem really soon with businesses. And this is my personal perspective. It's like as businesses replatform from traditional technology to agentic workflows, if you don't assign a human to that workflow, then who takes responsibility? We've just let loose this ability, this system that thinks and takes action upon itself, and then we're kind of creek. So yeah, I don't know if there's a question in there, but more specific.
I'll add something to that as well. There's almost like a stages to adoption as well.
Yeah.
And the way, at least the way the industry is seeing it, and the way I like to present it is that in the beginning, there are people who are going to be the first movers, for lack of a better word. They want to try everything and win. And security would definitely lag behind there because they're just basically going full speed ahead. We'll ask sorry later. Let's keep going with this.
Yeah.
We'll talk to them when we get to production or whatever the thing may be. The second stage is when you have to have a human involved. And the reason for that is even though no matter how much we talk about the foundational models have evolved, we haven't reached a stage where it's perfect because again, it doesn't have the context of your entire organization. So even if you use the example of the self-automation, people think that field is gone, it's not needed anymore, I don't need to hire anymore. But the reality is, if you really truly ask the questions to those vendors as well, you'll find that they can do a good job of getting you to a point where you can have some trust to use your word that, hey, I know that 95% of the roles that I've gone through are not an incident. That 5% that I'm highlighting to your level 1 person, they still need to be looked at by someone because I don't have the context for it.
Yeah.
But is that what you're being marketed? I don't know.
Well, no, we're being told it's going to solve all problems.
Yeah.
And the other problem is hallucinations, where it won't tell you about the 5%. It'll just make some shit up.
Yeah, that's right.
It will do. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. And I think so I feel like a lot of our current frontier model would remain in that level for some time to come. The reason for that is because, and it's well understood in the industry, that we haven't cracked into the reasoning yet, where you can trust a LLM to make a reasoning call for, hey, based on what Connor told me, based on what Stu tells, and based on what Ashish said on the podcast, I think I should delete all the backlogs because it doesn't make sense.
Do you think that's far away?
I don't know. It's not far away. It's just because I definitely find that most people are very bullish about the adoption, and for rightly so, because when it's your entire company on the line, like people are like, you see people talk about, hey, we're trying to replace employees with AI, then you go back on it and you come back on it. Actually, I can replace them, or maybe I cannot replace them. I feel like there would be a lot of back and forth, but what we would land on is somewhere in between where, hey, humans would have to be part of the loop for the current version of frontier model that we are in. Once we crack into the reasoning one, then all hell's going to get
The thing that we're going to find is humans don't make sense. Right? We're in, I work in this world where, and I think that's why I find recruiting so fascinating. Everyone's like, AI is coming for you. I'm like, people suck.
Yeah.
People don't make rational decisions. All of the, almost, you go back to the point where when the whole company's on the line, people are not going with what the rational idea is. They're going with their gut. They're going with their emotion. Yeah. And I think that's the one thing from a reasoning perspective. Most companies are built on someone's gut. Most decisions are made on someone's gut. Yeah. They have the data. People throw the playbook out the window when it comes to big decisions. And I think that's where the crossover is going to come. And I think that's where people are going to struggle is that, cool, the big call.
I mean, this podcast is running on a gut as well. So everything, but that's what makes us human as well. That's what I'm going with this. And I think that's what that's what allows us to take the risk as well. Yeah. Which an AI may or may not. You may explain what your risk posture is. All it would take is someone who's a bit more risk averse writing the prompt. The AI never takes the risk.
We also need someone to blame. Because humans, we want to have, if it goes right, great. But we want to, if there's a decision, and I think this is where the CISO job is going to get pretty shit for a little bit, is if you're deciding on the models, you're deciding on what AI policy is for the entire organization, and it's all on one person, the best people are going to leave, and they already are. They're starting companies, they're getting out of the industry. But there's going to be, It's already a heavy burden as a CISO. If you're in charge of the entire AI footprint as well,
Oh my God.
sucks.
Well, I think that's what you said earlier. It's like you can't, if you're an individual and you're trying to keep your head above water, you should not be making decisions by yourself. It's got to be a team sport.
100%. And most organizations are building forums or some kind of internal body with your legal team, HR team, product team, engineering, someone from security. Everyone kind of is basically being pulled into it. That doesn't mean you're moving fast, but at least to your point of finding people, at least it's not an individual making a call.
Yes.
It's a group of people making a call. They may be slow in making that decision, but at least they're making a call that everyone agreed on based on the information they had. So everyone's ass is on the line.
I do think slowing down is going to be useful for a lot of companies. It's so easy to be pulled in, because of the rate of change.
Yeah.
I think just taking stock and making wise decisions is going to be a useful thing for exec teams.
And what my experience with the AI governance is what we did. We pulled in everybody, and then what we do is we meet monthly, and we had to make decisions inside a month. But what we started to really make decisions around was not on yes, no. It was decisions around creating the framework. Did we get the right concepts and the right angles in the framework? And so we could distribute that to the organization.
Yeah.
That was kind of our modus operandi. And you've talked about frameworks for CISOs as well.
Yeah.
And you've talked about frameworks for how to navigate and this moment that we're in with these AI and the agentic portions of that. Do you want to walk us through some of those frameworks that you've been encouraging CISOs to adopt?
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, I will give a shout out to the Maestro framework as well. It's a great model to kind of adopt for any AI project at this point in time. It gives you the high level for what am I really targeting towards. As I worked with more CISOs and CTOs, I realized they required a bit more of a technical. But it's not. It's the way I describe it. Maestro is you can apply that to anything. My version is a bit more layer deeper. It's going into the technical aspect of it. The way I describe it for people who probably have not done much AI work, AI at the moment are usually of 2 points. There's a conversational agent and non-conversational agent. Conversational agent is same thing as your chat GPT, which you talk to, ask what the day is today and give you some answer. Maybe hallucinate the answer as well. Hey, what's your favorite drink? Maybe it's whatever this company did.
Brought to you by Liquid Death.
So it means what's your favorite water? Is Liquid Death.
Yeah.
So I think it's based on your profile or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I feel as a conversation model is the first one that people adopted because that was the easiest one. I already have a lot of information in my SharePoint, Confluence, Jira, GitHub, all of that. How do I bring all that together? Ashish, who happens to join day one, can ask a question and get an answer for when something happened, why was the decision made. It also helps people put the context for how do I find out that, quote unquote, I'm going to use a cloud example, S3 bucket that was open left to the internet. Why was that? Oh, it looks like Ashish had made the call 6 years ago because of a project, and then it kind of backfired. They were supposed to delete it. You see the entire history, and it shows you from an internal knowledge source that, hey, this is what happened on Slack 6 years ago. And okay, now it makes sense. And now to your point, you have someone to blame you if you want to. But Ashish has left by a long time. He's already moved on with his life. It's what? 6 years ago? Podcast life forever. So I definitely find that's where a lot of the attention has gone to as well. So talking back to the model, I've kind of decided as I walk through it with more people, both the conversational and the non-conversational one. The non-conversational one is more driven by API calls. That's the one where they're building applications, doing API security, all of that. The conversational one is where, and maybe I should start by saying this. Identity is going to be one layer that's across both conversation and non-conversation one. So I would just assume that it's across the board, that you almost have to, at every call, there is an authentication authorization goal being validated for, is this coming from our network? Is this Ashish? Or is this the real Ashish or the AI Ashish? And if it's AI Ashish, does it have the privileges that it should be doing what it's doing? And I think being able to differentiate that would be pretty interesting as well. Yeah. I'm sure we're going to talk about browser security there as well. But at least the way I describe it, when I quickly look at the image that I remember, is I think starting off with the way you have OSI model, starting off where a user query comes in, where you have a user who's asked a question. Is the question based on our privacy policy? Or is it content safe enough? Because you need to have a check at the input and you have to check at the output. So that's that layer. You're trying to understand that the query that's coming in, is that something that we can allow for? And that this is, by the way, after all the identity and stuff, because we don't even know what question is going to, he's maybe asking what's the salary of my CEO and how do I get a raise? Is my salary the same as my manager's salary, or is he just jealous that I get more than him? What is just a real conversation we were asking? And you realize, oh, wait, so as you kind of go through this, The other layer that comes into this place is a lot of people are using RAG as well. So now that you've gone from Ashish asked a question, now you've gone through the input output, you realize the query is safe enough from a content perspective. Then you look into, are there agents involved in this somewhere?
Yeah.
Is it just me talking to a ChatGPT or a Claude directly, or are there multi-AI agent? Then there is that orchestration. How is that orchestration working? Is there code being included somewhere? So that's the third layer. So you have the user layer, which is me asking the question, authentication, authorization. Then asking for the query, is my input output safe, content safe? Third layer is agent and orchestration for understanding multi-agent, whatever. Then it comes to the model, because now no one's building a frontier model outside of the big players.
Yeah.
So most people are leveraging another one, whether it's open source one or a free or a paid enterprise one. What does that security look like for us in terms of is it a trusted LLM model that I said is a standard?
Right.
Or is it a LLM model that I do not even know about? Open source one?
Someone's grabbing it off a Hugging Face
Yeah.
and like ripping it through. Yeah.
So now you're on that layer, and as you kind of go through you've done that, having gone through all of that, you have obviously got a RAG layer or a database layer. Now the data layer is more about, is this data something that should be available to an LLM? Every organization has sensitive applications, imagine like a healthcare system,
Right.
where you have someone's personal information, blood group, social issues, whatever. Is that data okay for it to be loaded into this information? Like there's checks from a data layer perspective as well. And the example that I gave earlier, to increase the accuracy of a response for any AI agent, you need to include internal knowledge source to it.
Right.
And the knowledge source is where MCP comes in, RAG comes in. Now you're in this world of, is this a trusted source that's asking me the question, the data? Is the data something that's allowed to go there? Once you've gone through that layer, now you're in the cloud layer, your infrastructure layer, which is basically what is it built on? Am I just using something which is on Hugging Face, or someone is giving me a hosting provider? And once you've kind of gone through the hosting provider, am I using Amazon Bedrock? Or am I using Azure, OpenAI?
Yeah.
Whatever the foundation layer would be, because quote unquote, they allow me to build infrastructure on it. And then coming back to identity once again. I think that's the 7 layer that I go through.
So what I really like about what you framed it in your framework is you're introducing a way to put checks at every layer. I see a lot of the conversation at the moment kind of stuck at the first layer, where we're looking for like, do we have the right protections against prompt injections? Yes or no? And then we stop there.
Yeah.
What I like about that, and this is why I want you to like take a closer look at that framework, is because you've given us a way to say, think about this differently. And we can say, as you go through each layer, what are the appropriate safeguards we should be going through? What are the right checks to make sure you're getting all the way down? So then you go up and down the stack.
Oh yeah, and I think I would add something as well, because one thing with the vendor spaces as well, that they would solve the problem that is top of mind. They would need to solve the AI problems as well. Because imagine if you're spending millions of dollars, you don't want to just solve a problem that is so unique that only 5 people care about it. So they want a problem that is broad enough,
Right.
which is across the board, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but at least it gives a CISO a fighting chance for something like this. But I would say most leaders and decision makers will still have to keep an eye out for, there are things outside their peripherals. Like we talk about the governance piece, there's no technology there. There's just culture, people, and like, how do I convince Ashish to not do what he should not do?
Right.
Like those are things that would never be done by a vendor, which is rightly so. It's an internal problem. But then also things like identity is solvable today. We can have a look at it. But things like, what is least privilege? I don't know. We've tried defining it for 30 plus years. You still haven't defined it. A product cannot really solve that problem as well. So I definitely find that there'll be areas where, as an organization, you would have your, I guess, edges that you have to work around. But I would be going into it with an open eyes and, hey, this is what I would have to deal with.
Do you see a lot of CISOs that I think everyone's here to talk about AI, right? We kind of forgot the fundamentals, the hygiene. Do you see a lot of CISOs that are going to fall asleep at the wheel at some of the like boring stuff?
I would say if we had the hygiene covered, then I actually did this like a hot take thing where the hot take was GRC would not exist if we were just doing basic hygiene. As an entirety of a field, cybersecurity only does exist to help remind them that, hey, you should not have done that. Now we need to go back and fix it. And if people were doing their job, we won't be here. We'll be doing something else.
Right, yeah, like we shouldn't need security if everything is built by design.
Yeah. To your point, humans are imperfect. So
humans suck.
Maybe that's why cybersecurity people become paranoid. Because we are just constantly in this world where our data points are, hey, this engineering team did not do that. Right. There's something else did not do that. They had caused an incident. So if you think about the way we are being trained, our brains are being trained. And I'm like, it took me some time to realize that's why we are so paranoid. Because the only data points we have, whereas their data points are like, oh, look at the amazing thing we did. We built an amazing product. They're like, oh, you guys are so negative.
What's wrong with it?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, wait. Because your data points are different to mine. Like, in a way, I don't want to call it.
So we have reinforcement learning on security. Bad. So
So we're being trained into a world where anyone who's in a cybersecurity profession, we're being trained to be more paranoid.
Yeah.
Because all we see is the space is shit falling on the ground.
Yeah, what's wrong with it?
Yeah. And they were like, oh, you guys are so negative. I'm like, yeah, because that's what we see.
Yeah.
That is
we don't get to carry the torch. You guys get all the fun. The CTOs, head of product, sales guys.
Oh,
I got
look at
the
the revenue.
Oh yeah, we stopped an incident. No, there's no all hands for that.
Yeah. I was like, I'm sure it's a security incident that happened.
Well, Ashish, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been fantastic to have you. And I just say, like, what I've really appreciated about your work is that you're one of the clearest thinkers out there when it comes to getting enterprise ready for both this convergence of AI and AI security. And like doing them both at the same time is no easy feat. So, mate, just thank you for the work you're putting out, the work you're advising these global CISOs on with Tech Riot at techriot.io. And then, of course, you continued for your cloud security podcast, which is going on 6 years.
Yes.
You got your AI security podcast, which is taking the world by storm. So just thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Thank you for having me. A shout out to you guys as well. I've had a great conversation. Hopefully Liquid Death is available next time.
Loved it. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.